At the Bush State Prison, Warden Bill and his accountant Dwight are watching a movie called The Human Centipede 2. In that film, a man creates a 10-person centipede by connecting their lips to each other's rears. Bill thinks the movie is very stupid, but his assistant Daisy admits she likes it. An angry Bill starts touching her inappropriately while reminding her that she has no right to an opinion. At that moment Bill receives a call informing him of another incident in his prison. On the way to the scene, Dwight reminds him that they have the highest personnel turnover, violence rates, and legal and medical costs of any other prison in the country. If they don't solve this soon, they'll be replaced by the governor, but Dwight may have an idea. In the corridors, all the inmates keep insulting Bill, since he's known for being a sadist. Prisoner 297 makes a particularly gruesome threat and Bill promises to take care of him later. Eventually the men discover that a guard has been stabbed by an inmate and Dr. Jones is struggling to keep him alive. Yet Bill still takes a moment to remind Jones that he needs his physical checkup. The guard was stabbed by prisoner 178, who is being held down by 2 officers but continues to throw threats. Bill insults his race and asks what his dominant hand is, so Dwight says he's right-handed. Then Bill proceeds to break the prisoner's right arm, even exposing his bone. He wants to do more damage, but Dwight reminds him of the medical expenses. Bill promises he'll come back for more after he's healed. The prisoners in the cell start chanting threats in unison, and even 178 swears revenge. Bill snaps and opens fire in the corridor saying he deserves respect, but nobody takes him seriously. Later in his office, Bill tells Dwight that they should bring back medieval torture methods. Dwight insists that the system isn't working and wants to offer an alternative, but he's ignored. Daisy brings him a package and Bill is excited to find a very special order. It's a jar filled with dried female organs, which supposedly tribe leaders in Africa eat for unbelievable strength. Bill eats one without hesitation. At that moment Bill gets a call from a mysterious voice telling him that the death squad is coming for him. A terrified Bill hangs up and starts freaking out, hiding under the table and loading his gun. Dwight knows this isn't the first time it has happened, so he calls the guards and confirms his suspicion. Prisoner 346 used his monthly family call for a prank instead. When Bill hears that he fell for it again, he screams in anger. Afterward Bill goes to the infirmary for his checkup and Jones says he wants to run some tests because Bill's heart doesn't sound good, blaming it on stress. Bill thinks that stress is for weaklings and grabs Jones by the ears, threatening to fire him if he doesn't get good news. Jones tells him that he's in perfectly good health. Later Bill visits prisoner 346, who has been strapped to a table for his prank. 2 guards bring buckets of boiling water and Bill starts pouring them on 346's face, who squirms and cries out in pain. His face ends up deformed, but even in his suffering he tells Bill that he lost his soul. Eventually Governor Hughes comes for a visit. Bill offers him a cigar but Hughes turns it down, saying he only smokes Cubans. This upsets Bill so much that he runs to hug the American flag. Hughes scolds Bill for the violent way he manages the prison, saying it's damaging his career. He demands changes and will return in 2 weeks to check on the situation. If things don't improve, Bill and Dwight will be fired. After Hughes leaves, Bill starts freaking out again and throws all kinds of insults at the governor. Yet he refuses to change his sadistic ways and sends all the prisoners to the yard, where they must stand for hours under the scorching summer sun. Bill goes to the tower and talks to the inmates with a megaphone, insulting them all before announcing a new type of punishment: castration. His first victim is 297, who the guards take back inside. In a cell, Bill heats a knife while the guards hold 297 against the wall. Bill uses the knife to cut 297's marbles, enjoying the way he screams. Then Bill sends the marbles to the cook because he wants to eat them for lunch. He finishes the punishment by covering his face with the prisoner's blood. In the office, Bill forces Daisy to get naughty with him while Dwight is still in the room. When they're done, Bill makes Daisy swallow the milk, reminding her that she owes him because he got her father out of prison. She asks for candy to get rid of the aftertaste and ends up eating a female organ from the jar, not knowing what it really is. Then Bill eats 297's marbles for lunch, which disgusts his partner. Dwight insists he has an idea to improve their prison but Bill ignores him, angry because he's found the DVDs of the Human Centipede movies on his desk. Later in the infirmary, Bill enjoys watching the nurse remove the bandages from 346's face, who keeps crying out in pain and insulting him. Next Bill tells 178 that he's here to follow up on his promise and breaks the man's fingers. Jones informs him that 297 is stable, and Bill is so pleased by the results that he announces that tomorrow he'll start castrating every prisoner. Dwight thanks Jones for putting up with Bill's craziness, so Jones explains that this is the only place that will let him work without his license. Bill wakes 297 up to mock him, but the inmate is still not intimidated by him and threatens him again. A frustrated Bill starts choking him until he kills him, so he calls Jones and asks him to revive him. The doctor manages to make 297's heart beat again with the defibrillator, only for Bill to then choke him and kill him again. After Bill leaves, Dwight asks Jones to watch the Human Centipede movies. In the evening, Bill spends a while crying on the bathroom floor. He returns to the office with a gun and a bottle of whiskey, complaining about the prisoner's disrespect and how he'll get fired. Dwight snaps and yells at him to finally make him listen to his idea. He wants to make a huge human centipede with all the inmates. This would mean no more prison fights, no more assaults on guards, and no more disrespect. It'd keep the prisoners on their knees at Bill's mercy and be the perfect deterrent to crime. Bill doesn't think that those movies are realistic, but Dwight has already talked to the director and confirmed that it's all medically accurate. A furious Bill still thinks that it's a stupid idea and fires Dwight, who insults him. Bill just responds by spitting. On his way out, Dwight gives Daisy his handkerchief and she clings to it while she cries. Afterward, Bill starts freaking out and yelling about his hate for humanity. After eating more female organs, he goes to the tower and starts insulting the prisoners with his megaphone, but the yard is empty. Sometime later, Bill is drinking alone in the cafeteria when suddenly all the inmates surround him. He yells for help but the guards don't come, so he begs for mercy while saying he's only been following orders, that everyone is allowed to leave, and that he has a heart problem. The prisoners hold him down and 297 cuts a hole in the side of Bill's body so he can insert his member. Bill screams and bleeds all over the floor while 297 fills him with his seed and the others chant with excitement. Nearby, another prisoner is forcing Dwight to get naughty with him. At that moment, Bill wakes up from this nightmare in his office. The next day, Bill is visited by Dwight and Tom, the real director of the Human Centipede movies. When Tom tries to shake hands, Bill spits at him. While Dwight starts praising Tom's career, Jones joins them and explains he had to resuscitate 297 again after another heart attack. Dwight insists the Human Centipede is a perfect plan to deal with the prison's problems and Tom assures everyone that it's medically accurate, showing them the diagrams he got from a doctor before he made the movies. Jones studies all the diagrams and confirms that it's possible, so Bill finally agrees to do it. However, Dwight points out they need to do it differently from the movies because the prisoners still have to be released without mutilations at the end of their sentences. Instead of removing their teeth, they'll use a ring to keep their mouths open, and instead of cutting their knee ligaments they can induce temporary paralysis. Jones doesn't like the project but has to cooperate or Bill will fire him. Tom lets them use his idea on the condition that he can watch one of the operations and Bill agrees as he finally shakes his hand. Bill thinks they should make the prisoners watch the movies before announcing his plan, but Dwight refuses. He points out that it'd only make them violent, so they should prepare everything without the inmates knowing. Once again, Bill ignores him. That afternoon, the prisoners watch the first movie. Some of them have fun, while others think it's awful and should be banned. When they get loud with their complaints, Bill fires his gun in the air to shut them up. He then tells them about his plan and just like Dwight predicted, everyone freaks out. The inmates start beating up the guards so Bill and Dwight have to run away. They close the gate behind them, however the prisoners manage to open it anyway. Bill and Dwight rush to hide in the office, but they don't let Daisy hide with them. When she tries to tell the prisoners that she has nothing to do with this, 178 strikes her down and starts choking her. Then he starts stabbing her as another guy takes advantage of her. While 297 starts hitting the office door with a fire extinguisher, Dwight calls for help and Bill eats more female organs. Then he breaks the window and jumps out to the yard to escape. As Dwight eats out of the jar in desperation, special agents burst in and kill the guy abusing Daisy before arresting the others. In the yard, all the inmates trying to escape are arrested as well. Afterward, Dwight finds Bill and tells him that Daisy is severely hurt, but Bill demands a doctor for himself even though he only has a few scratches. Then he throws a tantrum in the middle of the yard. Sometime later, Bill is pleased to see that the prisoners are silent in their cells. He puts sedative darts in his rifle and proceeds to shoot the inmates one by one to put them to sleep. Then the guards take them to the infirmary and strap them to the beds while Bill explains the operation. Jones has been permitted to hire 5 surgical teams, who are now creating centipede segments of 3 prisoners each. These segments rest in the hospital tents outside and are added to the final centipede chain little by little. One of the prisoners has inflammatory bowel disorder, which gives him constant diarrhea, so Bill decides he'll be sewn to 297's mouth as revenge. Another prisoner has a stoma, which is a surgical opening in his abdomen through which his waste comes out. Since his rectum is sewn shut, he can't be in the centipede. Bill inserts his gun into the stoma and shoots to kill him. He also kills a wheelchair-bound inmate for not being compatible either. Afterward, Bill and Dwight visit Daisy, who is in a coma. Dwight thinks they should send her to a proper hospital, but Bill wants to keep her close because he finds wounded women hot. Ignoring Dwight's pleas for mercy, Bill climbs on top of her and does the naughty to her sleeping body. Sometime later, the office window is repaired and almost all the inmates have been operated on, so Bill celebrates by finishing his jar of female organs. He then pretends to be Hughes to imagine how happy the governor will be at his brilliant plan, and Dwight has to remind him that it was his idea. That afternoon, Tom comes back and Bill gives him a tour of the place. The last inmate is crazy and already enjoys eating his own poop, so he looks forward to being part of the centipede. However, Bill doesn't want anyone to enjoy this because it's a punishment, so he shoots this guy too. Then Bill takes Tom to the surgery room and they watch how 346's face is sewn to another inmate's rear, which Bill finds very exciting. In another room, Dwight is shocked to discover that some prisoners are having their limbs chopped off, and the sight makes Tom throw up. Dwight demands an explanation but Bill says it's a surprise. When the project is finally ready, Hughes is invited to the prison. Bill and Dwight take him to the yard to reveal a huge human centipede with 346 at the front. The duo tells Hughes about their vision of a world without crime, thanks to this terrifying punishment while the centipede is forced to eat. Only 346 is given actual food, and the others have to swallow the poop from the person in front of them. Even Daisy has been added to the chain. Dwight keeps talking about all the money they could save in food and housing, but Bill interrupts him to make him clean the last person on the centipede since his pants are brown with poop. Next, Bill takes Hughes to another section of the yard to reveal his surprise. It's a human caterpillar, which he created using the lifetime and death row convicts. Since these people will never be released, their arms and legs have been chopped off, meaning they can only squirm on the ground like a caterpillar. In the infirmary, Bill introduces Hughes to a prisoner who just finished his sentence, so he's been taken out of the centipede to send him home. The only scars are on his mouth and rear because of the sewing, and Bill thinks it's another crime deterrent because society will be able to tell if somebody was in the centipede. He asks the guy how he's feeling, but the man doesn't speak English, so he's sent away. Hughes is horrified by the whole project and announces that Bill and Dwight will get the death penalty for this before he leaves. Bill pulls out his gun and considers self-deleting, but then he points the gun at Dwight because it was his idea. At that moment, Jones comes to check on them and Bill shoots him twice to kill him. When Bill is about to shoot Dwight too, Hughes comes back and says this is exactly what America needs. He plans to take the idea to DC and hopefully become president. After Hughes leaves again, Dwight wants to take the credit since it was his idea. Bill hugs him and calls him a genius, only to shoot him in the head. Then he cleans off his fingerprints and leaves the gun in Dwight's hand to make it look like he self-deleted. Sometime later, Bill is naked in the tower yelling on the megaphone while admiring the centipede in the yard. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.